Hi kids, I'm Storytime Pup, and welcome to the Storytime Pup Show. I'm so glad you came by to play. I love when my friends come by to play, and you're one of my friends. Are you ready to have fun? Let's see what we're going to do today. Magic marker, show us what we're going to do today. Yay! It's storybook time! We love storybook time! Well, hi kids, and thanks for stopping by for today's book! Today's book is Hey Bob, Wanna Play? And it's written by Kathy Diavis. Are you ready? Okay, let's get started with today's book. Bob and Madison spent their summer break in the rainforest, teaching other sloths all about school. All of Bob and Madison's friends loved hearing stories about their classmates at school. Soon it was time for them to return to Treehouse Elementary and meet the new kids in room 17. They were excited, but a little nervous about the first day of school. Mrs. D met Bob, Madison, and all the new kids at the door of room 17. The kids were all excited to meet the famous Bob and Madison Sloth. Bob was excited to meet the new students and tell them everything about kindergarten. Mrs. D started the day by showing the class the toys and learning areas in the classroom. Finally, it was time for recess. Bob loves recess. He jumped to the door and ran to tell the kids all about the playground. Back in the classroom, Madison noticed one little guy sitting on the carpet. He didn't run to the playground for recess. Mrs. D had called him Rico. Madison took him by the hand and asked if he wanted to play. The little guy just looked sad and said, "Peep, Coco, say, Luck, Baba, Takalapi." Madison realized that he didn't speak the same language as everyone else. She spent recess inside with Rico and they played with the baby dolls. Rico didn't make a peep. After recess, Mrs. D told the class that Rico had just moved here from very far away. Rico smiled at Mrs. D and said, "Lana, wow, Rico." Bob looked at the little guy and said, "We can't play with him because we don't speak the same language." Mrs. D was a little disappointed in Bob, so she reminded everyone, "In our class, everyone plays with everyone." The kids didn't know what to think. Bob was right. How could he play with Rico if he didn't speak the same language? Mrs. D asked the class for ideas to help Rico. Rico looked at Mrs. D and said, "Leskja, Kalnino, Pleki, Millenli, Rico." Jason felt bad for Rico, so he walked over to the coloring area and picked up crayons and paper. He showed the paper and crayons to Rico and motioned for him to come sit at the drawing table with him. Rico smiled and said, "Whoop, don't move, we walk Rico." Leo picked up the crayons and sat down with Jason and Rico, and the three of them started to draw together. After lunch, the kids returned to the playground, and Jasmine asked Rico if he wanted to play on the slide. She pointed and motioned to the slide, but Rico was nervous. Jasmine held his hand as they went down the slide together. The next day, Bob watched his friends play with Rico, but he still wasn't exactly sure how they could play together. He watched Isaiah play soccer with Rico, and all the kids cheered when Rico scored his first goal. Day after day, the kids played with Rico, and before long, he was saying, "Play? Play?" Bob was still nervous about playing with Rico, but he really wanted to teach him how to hang like a sloth in the trees. It was Bob's favorite trick, and he really wanted Rico to feel the joy of hanging from a tree like a sloth. It was a Wednesday when Bob looked at Rico and decided today was the day. At recess, Bob motioned to Rico, and they walked together to the tree on the playground. Bob did his sloth flip move and was quickly hanging from his favorite branch in the tree. Bob helped Rico by showing him how to swing his leg over the branch and hang like a sloth. Mrs. D in the class watched and clapped for Bob and Rico. When recess was over, it was time to line up and go back to the classroom. Bob took Rico's hand and they lined up together. As they walked into the classroom, Rico said, "Bob," and Bob replied, "Rico." Rico is just like any other kid, and he just wanted to play with friends at school. Mrs. D explained that all you have to do is extend your hand and smile. Being friends doesn't require you to speak the same language or look just like everyone else. You just have to reach out your hand and show kindness. Learning about friendship was one of the most important lessons Bob and his friends have ever learned. The end. So what did you think about today's book? Did you learn anything? I hope you learned that everyone is different, but we should all accept each other. Even if we don't speak the same language, or we might look different. Always reach out your hands and be friends with everyone. I want to say a great big thank you to Kathy Diavas for that wonderful book.